I'm very happy to run into you guys. I'll be happy to make activities with you if I have the time in the next few days. I tried vegetarian restaurant in Indian vegetarian restaurant. It was good, very good vegan food. And I come from a place that we have so many vegans and activities from a very different varieties, like quiet protests and harsh things like we can put a dead animal in the street and say, go ahead, enjoy yourself. So we have many activities, and it's thriving in Israel now, and many vegetarian and vegan restaurants.
You're totally against dogs being eaten in China and other countries.
Yeah, I'm against all cruelty in animals. To use force on anybody, it can be an animal or a human being. So of course I'm against eating dog meat in China and everywhere.
And now I'm talking to Bernie Wright, a spokesperson for the Alliance for Animal Rights. Bernie, how's it going? Bernie,
not too bad. It's a very busy day here because we're here at O'Connell Street at the Spire. We've loads of banners out, loads of people, so it's looking good.
Yeah. I interviewed you a couple of times over the last few months. Can you just remind our listeners of who the Alliance for Animal Rights are? And could you tell us what you're doing here in the Spire and what the rationale is for today's demonstration?
Well, the Alliance for Animal Rights is an animal rights group. We're an abolitionist group, and we were founded in 1989, and we deal with various issues, mostly from an abolitionist approach, but with a vegan baseline really. The majority of us would be vegans, so we're here today because of the greyhound situation, which is bad enough here in Ireland, with greyhounds being found dead and ears cut off and dumped. But the Irish Greyhound Board now have a new way of making money, and what they're doing is they're packing these dogs off to China on planes, and they're getting big money for them. And the poor dogs, when they turn out to be either not good or too slow or whatever, like here at least some of them are rehomed, but in China they have been located in the meat trade, and they've been skinned alive and they've been boiled in pots of water because they feel in China that the more they torture the dog, the tenderer the meat will be.
I never heard of that before. How common is the torturing of dogs in China, in your opinion?
Well, we've searched the internet, and 2 people have gone to China and have found Irish and English earmarks on the dogs that were in these places. Now, there are a lot of very good Chinese activists that are maybe rescuing about 500-600 dogs at a time that are on trucks going to the slaughterhouses. So we're not. It's not a blanket. It is a ban, a boycott on China. But we know as well that there are many good people out there doing great work for these animals and trying to help them on the ground, which is not easy, I'd say, in China.
What would you say to the official Chinese government point of view, that they police animal abuse as much as any Western country do, but it's impossible to look after every animal 24/7? So what would you say to the Chinese government who are saying that all this torturing is exaggerated?
I really don't think it's exaggerated, because it seems to be even bad enough for humans. I was at a film the other night, Human Harvest, where they're harvesting organs from people in their census. So, I mean, it couldn't be much worse. We had 2 Nobel Peace Prize nominated people there, and they spoke about it. They knew it firsthand because one was a doctor. This in China. So, I mean, all I can say is we've seen the videos of what happens to the dogs. It's all very well documented, but it's not just China, it's Korea, other places as well. But we have Tommy Brahan now in the Dáil trying to bring in a white list of places that greyhounds can't be exported to. Now, I commend him on his efforts, but they're going to get around this, because all they have to do is start at another destination and go from there on different flights. So the white paper here won't really apply. So it won't really mean anything. What we need is an end to the millions that the government is pouring into the Irish Greyhound Board. to keep these tracks open, and it's a dying sport. There's hardly anybody going in now, and they have dirt cheap food they're giving out. It's, you know, even the communion kids are being brought there now and allowed bet on the tote. So I mean, all in all, it's a useless sport, for want of a better word, and so many dogs are dying and being found with their ears cut off because they can be identified by the ear tags. They're found in rivers, they're found with rocks tied to them, they're found cut and burned, and that's only here in Ireland, but it's going to be a million times worse in China because they torture animals, and the more they torture them, they feel the meat is more tender at the end of it. So we have seen evidence of what they do is they grab them by the neck, they grab the greyhound by the neck, they pull it over to a big pot of water that's like a big crock, and there's boiling water in it. They put them in it, you hear them screaming, and they put the lid on. So that's what they're doing to greyhounds in China. And the Irish Greyhound Board are a disgrace. And it's taxpayers' money. If more people that are maybe involved with the homeless groups or with people in need could object to this money going for this, because that's where this money is going to put these greyhounds on flights and make more money in China. And they'll breed them over there, and there'll be more and more and more dogs suffering.
Are you saying that dogs getting boiled like that, as you described, is actually the common practice?
It is a common practice because they eat dogs, and they feel it's a bit, you know, I mean, it's not the way we'd feel, but they feel that torturing an animal makes it more tender. So they do what they can to abuse the animal, and these animals are in cages and no water, their legs hanging out, broken bones and everything, and they're left there, and then they're pulled out and either electrocuted or beaten to death or skinned alive or thrown into boiling water.
Are there any websites, journalists or books you would recommend to get more educated on dogs' rights in China and around the world?
Well, that's the whole thing. There's no rights, there's no welfare legislation, there's absolutely nothing to protect dogs in China, or any animals as far as I know. So they can do what they like to them. So that's part of the problem.
Are there any websites or journalists or books you recommend?
I don't know about books, but if you go onto the internet and Google greyhounds in China or X-racing greyhounds to China or the Irish Greyhound Board, it'll all come up there. It's well documented. I've even a picture here of a dog in the vat on the side of the road in the boiling water. It was exposed in the Mirror like a good few months ago.
So you're calling on the Irish people to boycott the Irish greyhound racing industry and China?
Course. Yes, we want the greyhound racing gone here because that causes enough suffering as it is. But get onto your TD if you have time, get onto your TD, get onto everybody and stop the grants. They get millions every year. Stop the grants going to the IGB because they really don't care about the dogs and they're getting more barbaric with this. I mean, what sort of people would do that? You know, they have to be twisted souls, like to not see how greyhounds are very gentle, loving dogs. I have 6 at home, but I have 5 at home. So, I mean, I know how gentle they are. I've rescued them for about 30 years. So I've never met one that was anyway nasty or anything else. They're beautiful, gentle dogs, and they're terrified. They're very nervous too. They get terrified in situations, you know, like that. So it's horrendous what they must suffer in China.
And you're calling for a boycott of China as well, yeah?
Well, I'm calling for a boycott on China as more or less a way to try and get the Chinese people themselves that may be living here to wake up a bit and like maybe try and do something, if some of them care about animals, to stop the abuse of animals in China. You know, it's not everybody. There's great people in China and there's great activists too, and they're rescuing probably 500 and 600 dogs at a time on trucks and bringing them to places and getting them better and trying to rehome them. So it's not really everybody. There's good and bad everywhere, but I mean, we really have the nasty here with the Irish Greyhound Board. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be closed down for what they're doing. Instead, the government is pandering to them because they have all their cronies in power, you know, that sort of way. So again, ask your politician, does he support this? If he does, don't vote for him. Well, no, I think today went all right. We got a lot of people interested, and surprisingly we got a lot of people that knew the story, that has seen the accounts in the papers of this and that are behind us. So like people seem very good, and we got a vegan from Israel, and he was very interested. He's joining us, and we got a few more people to join us here too that just came up and met us, but they agree with what we're doing. So that's good. I mean, everything seemed positive today. There was no negatives.
That's
And
great.
Thank you, Darren,
I'll be
for helping us out.
That's great. I'll be talking to you again, Bernie. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.